I guess the question is more with the inquiry. Inquiring, I mean, I'm not supposed to inquire with all of these thoughts that are going by if my attention is in the heart. Do you understand? I don't know if you follow my question. Thoughts occur even when I'm in the heart. So how does that relate, I guess, to inquiring with every thought?
Well, there's really no contradiction. Inquiry is not to inquire into every thought. Inquiry is to inquire into the thinker. Who's having the thoughts? Not into each thought. Now, in the beginning stages of the inquiry, you use the thought as the trigger mechanism, as a way of giving direction to attention. Once you recognize that thought is occurring, then that triggers your attention. And now you inquire, to who is this thought happening? It's happening to me. Me, get a hold of the I, the me, and then inquire into the me, into the source from which this me takes rise. What is it sustains this me? And then you move into the source. Don't stay even in the me. Don't stay even in the thinker, but into the source prior to the thinker. And when you move into the source, well, first of all, when you get a hold of the I that is having the thought, what happens to the thought?
It's gone.
It's gone. See, so that's the end of the thought. You don't have to worry anymore about that thought. It doesn't even come up to be considered. But you're now having a hold of the I, and now you inquire into the source from which this I. What am I? Who am I? Whence is this I? And then feeling this I, follow the feeling of I, or get back prior to the feeling of I, into the source from which this feeling of I is occurring. What's sustaining this sense of I? What's the origin of this sense of I? What's the truth about this I? What's the nature of this I? But you move back into the source and just be in the source, and that's just awareness. Now when you're in the awareness, there's no longer any consideration about the I. It may be, and then thoughts might still be going on with the I. But if you're in the awareness and you're aware that you're in the awareness, stay in the awareness. It doesn't make any difference what's going on in the thought, with the thoughts. They're not touching you as awareness. They're only bothering you as I, the thinker of the thoughts. If you're identified with the sense of I, and to remain identified with the sense of I, the I has to have an object on which to exist. What is that object? What is that object? What is it? What is the I identified with? The body. It requires this object. You see, if you're just observing the process, and that's what you do over time with the inquiry is to really observe this whole process of thought itself, to really get in touch with consciousness and the mechanism of consciousness. And if you're giving attention to consciousness and to the mechanism of consciousness and how consciousness functions, that's what you are then attending to. You're not really involved so much into thoughts and all that goes on with thoughts, all the difficulties, all the problems, all the angers, all the resentments, all the fears, all the doubt, all the worry. You're not giving any attention to all of that. You're staying back into the awareness and watching all of that, you see? And as you're able to really watch it, and you are if you're in the inquiry, I mean, you can be in there and really watch that. Now, if you're just thinking and going on and unconsciously indulging in the thoughts themselves, and then that thought brings up another thought, and then that brings up another thought, and that brings up another thought, and you're just lost in thought. which is what ordinarily happens until you learn inquiry, until you begin to get it, what the inquiry is for, what it's designed for. And when all of that's going on, you're at the effect of all of that. Aren't you?
Yeah.
But if you're in the inquiry and you stay in the inquiry, you utilize the inquiry as an intentional, conscious process. That's your sadhana. That's your spiritual practice. Then you'll go through a phase in which, okay, you're in the awareness and you're seeing that there's thoughts, or you'll be in a phase in which you're in the thoughts, and then you're in the I that has the thoughts, and then you'll be back in the thoughts, and then you're in the I that has the thoughts, then you get back into the awareness that is prior to the I. You go through all of that. Haven't you? Haven't you been through all of that? Well, that's very ordinary. I mean, that's quite ordinary to go through all of that. You're observing and learning as you go, observing, experiencing it. See, direct, first hand, not second hand, not what you read about, not what you heard about, not what I'm telling you about it. You see? Yes, you're experiencing what I'm telling you about it right now. You're right in there experiencing it for yourself so that you see for yourself exactly what's going on with it. And as you stay in this process, constantly staying in this process, over and over and over and over, you see, what's the benefit of staying in this process? See? What do you think the benefit is? Do you see that there's any benefit to it?
Yeah.
Because once you get back into the awareness, which is just pure being, pure consciousness, the nature of that pure consciousness, when you're hanging out in it, when you're just floating in it, resting in it, just being it, the nature of that is Sat Chit Ananda. Existence, consciousness, bliss. See, that's not a definition, that's your experience. You're in the very essence of existence itself. You're where existence is existing, where pure existence is occurring as existence, as the source out of which all existence, you see, is happening. And you're in that source in which all existence is happening. The nature of that is consciousness. It's just pure consciousness, and the nature of that is freedom, bliss, deep peace. Not at the effect of anything, not bothered by anything, not worried about anything, not touched by anything, not affected by anything. Hey, you're free. Now, is that worth anything?
Yeah.
But you have to go through this process. You actually have to take the trip. You've got to go on the journey. See? You've got to make the trek. Not just continue to indulge in thought and, well, I'm only going to think, if upsetting thought comes up, I'm just going to do this because there's an upsetting thought. No, you're not going to gain the strength to do it. That's better than nothing. It's like taking a bath. A bath once a month is better than no bath at all. So, the inquiry just on those occasions is better than no inquiry at all. But if that's all you're depending on, if you're just going to inquire when you have an upsetting thought, when it's unpleasant, you see, you're not going to be able to reestablish yourself, to make the connection with consciousness and its purity, in its true essence, and just abide in that which is the location of true freedom, true peace, and true joy, true happiness. Because you see, when you're in the mind with all these thoughts going on, tell me, how can you be happy when you're in the mind? I want you to tell me how you can be happy in the mind. Even if you have a happy thought, How long can you hold on to a happy thought?